Good afternoon. Coming down to the final stretch. Do we need a 7-inning stretch here just to get the circulation going? I'm happy to be standing here as the last presentation because just under a year ago, at our last session in Vancouver, we unveiled our the draft of our certification program. And I'm happy to say now, almost less than a year, we're back in Vancouver and we've got 100 plus individuals certified and quite a few more that we'll be doing today. And there's a number that are here this evening or this afternoon, so we'll call them up to present them with their certification. But what I'd like to do is just go through, some of you have seen this presentation before, so bear with me, but for those that haven't, I'd like to go through the program so that you can become somewhat familiar with it and hopefully consider it. So the certification program, the initial aim and the continued aim of the certification program is basically to create a national body, a benchmark for all individuals and companies that are involved in BIM in Canada, with the intention, of course, of it going beyond that as well. So it's addressing proponents and benchmarks for individuals, academics, institutions, training providers, to a nationally standardized level to hopefully tie together what for a while has been a bit of the Wild West, as I like to say. We're trying to narrow things down, bring everybody in line, both for present practitioners, but most importantly for the future practitioners that are going through school, are going through training, that hopefully will work their way up and be very successful in a healthy BIM environment in Canada. The objectives are to recognize and establish the guidelines and BIM standards and competency levels to ensure this productive and healthy environment, maintain a database of these individuals, which is growing very quickly as we move ahead with coming up to a year, establish the benchmark for point of reference for higher education to ensure that the skills they are developing and teaching students are what is actually required by the industry to be applied as soon as possible, as quickly as possible, and as effective as possible. And what we're seeing happen now, and this was also a goal, was to promote and pursue constructive dialogue with other institutions and other countries that are healthy in BIM. And it's very nice, actually very encouraging to see Yvonne here today from South Africa. That began very innocently. Not that it's not innocent, but it's an indication of what this certification program can lead to on an international level. We have had other expressions of interest from other countries, and it's hopefully something we can pursue in the next year as well. Our certification program, the way it's structured, there's 3 components to it. The most active at the moment is the certification for individuals. And I found this image on the internet. A gentleman by the name of Bilal Sukar, who is considered one of the foremost experts internationally in the theory and the research component of BIM. He's based out of Australia. He had this diagram in one of his presentations, and it really, I like it because it indicates just how much is out there and how much is happening, and how do we pull all of this together and bring in the objectives, the processes, the tools, the workflows, the protocols. How do we somehow tame the beast that is growing and becoming more complex to a point where we can set these benchmarks and levels to certify people to? So I like this, and basically from that previous illustration, what was developed was this competency index by BIM Excellence or Bilal Sukar, and we've used this to sort of set our direction, but also modify it accordingly to what industry is telling us they need here in Canada. So there's in essence 4 significant levels, and they're broken down on 2 wings to this this fish, as I seem the BIM fish, as I call it, knowledge and skill. Of course, there's conceptual knowledge, there's theoretical knowledge is extremely important. However, what we are trying to do in our certification program is give the much needed value to the skill and applied experience of the BIM progression of an individual. So we've taken this diagram here, and I've modified it and identified basically the three elements that are significant for us to recognize in our certification. Skill, of course, is easy to measure. Knowledge is something a little bit more difficult to manage, to monitor and to evaluate and to assess. And of course, the largest component in our certification program, as we move ahead, you'll see, is experience. We're trying to recognize people that have been in the industry for a long time, that inherited or that osmosis of knowledge they permeate just simply by doing, perhaps not necessarily by studying, but by doing. And we know that obviously when you're in the trenches, the doing is what enriches your ability to do more. So what we've done as a result of this is we've developed 4 distinctive levels that all flow into each other. In this particular diagram, as you see, I've indicated the correlation with the fish diagram of earlier with basic, intermediate, advanced, and expert. And we've established our level 1 to level 4, and those 4 levels are indicated as CanBIM BP1, BIM Professional 1, CanBIM BP2, BP3, and CP Certified Professional, which at this time is the highest level. We've broken it down, and it indicates on the diagram. I'm not going to go read everything exactly, but the acquired knowledge, and of course the acquired and applied skill and experience. And those 4 factors are what are distilled in our process and evaluated by our assessment panel. The 4 levels, as I said, flow into each other. They're sequential. Level 1 is a very basic certification, a fundamental understanding of what BIM is. Everybody in this room knows what BIM is, but for people that are beginning or perhaps are almost on their way out of the industry but understand how critical it is and they'd like to have a little bit more knowledge about it, a very simple course in BIM fundamentals is something that would entail. Level 2, we move forward into a working knowledge of a BIM-related software. It could be any of the ones we've seen here today or any others that may be out there. And it's applying that skill for a specific software, as I said. Level 3, we move forward, and I personally think this is one of the most difficult ones. It's understanding the administrative component of what the BIM process is. It's an individual who has worked his or her way through in management, understands the process, can manage the projects, and has not only achieved a certain level of experience, but also has a breakdown of required academic credentials as well. And we'll look at that in a second. And CP is an individual who has made it all the way to 3 and has just accumulated more experience in the more complex, in-depth processes of BIM. It's the person that will oversee the whole component, set the path, and understand whether or not that path is working correctly. So level 1, as I said, is just a simple completion of a course in BIM fundamentals. There are pre-approved courses that CanBIM has recognized, and we're just receiving more and more as we go along, and we're looking at more and more as we go along. Level 2 is prerequisite is a level 1. It's a successful completion afterwards of an approved BIM-related software course or courses, or for those that have learned it on their own, like some have, 1 year or 2,000 hours of applied experience in that particular software, any of the BIM-related softwares that are out there. As we move up to level 3, we begin to look at specific in terms of disciplines. We begin to look and consider academic levels as well. Degrees and diplomas require different levels of experience within that discipline, both building and infrastructure, either one. So a diploma will require more hours than a degree, and both of them are acknowledged in our appendices that we have in our application. We would like that individual to have demonstrated either taken a course in management or demonstrated in the experience of having undertaken the management components of a project, and also having seen one full project using the process, hopefully from start to end. Now, sometimes that doesn't happen because depending on how they're allocated on different projects, but an accumulation of aspects of different aspects of a project over a number of projects is what the assessment panel will consider as well. CP is basically the individual that has taken it further, has done an additional 3 projects using integrated multidiscipline BIM process. And again, you can see how much emphasis is put on experience, of course acknowledging the fact that there is a fundamental theoretical knowledge base that has to be there as well. Process is fairly straightforward. We have a website. The application is on the website. You complete the document. It's actually not available as I'm speaking now. We're modifying it. We're tweaking it ever so slightly. You fill in the application. You fill in the appropriate appendices, provide the supporting documentation. Our assessment panel meets 3 to 4 times a year, always previous to these sessions, so that we could make the announcements in the ceremony at the sessions. You could either be certified and decide to stay at a particular level, or as some have done, and hope we have our first ones today when we have the ceremony, certify and advance up to the subsequent levels. Your evaluation your application is vetted to have met all the submission requirements, and then it goes to an assessment panel. The assessment panel is comprised of 5 members of our BIM community. 3 of those members are representatives of the board, 2 are representatives of the general membership. All 5, this is the minimum, but we've gone higher than 5. All assessors are highest certified at CP. So they've all achieved that highest ranking, and you hope, well, they have demonstrated that they have a clear understanding of what is required to make it to those different levels. Assessment goes through. Hopefully you're successful, you receive the assessment. If not, the assessors will provide feedback and say perhaps this individual is not quite at level 4, but they do have what's necessary for a level 3. That is offered to the applicant, and they decide whether they'd like to take it and pursue the higher one, or say, keep it, I'm just going to go for the higher one, I'll accumulate the additional experience, and we'll make it right up to the top. Oh, I went backwards. Continued professional development. For those that have been certified already, the professional development form will be available on the website as well right after Vancouver, so that's done. And the levels are there, 10 hours, 15, 15, and 20 hours. It's very common in industry and professional associations to continue with that, and that's over a period of 2 years. That is what is required to maintain your certification. However, as I said, if you want to pursue stepping up, really the CPD is not necessarily irrelevant, but if you're pursuing another step up, then you could still do the CPD, but continue to move up up the scale. Our second component that we've begun, and we will continue to expand very quickly, is a certification of educational courses and training. Of course, the benchmark is to assist educators, whether they're public institutions or private trainers, in what industry is asking they want BIM-capable individuals to be able to do. At the moment, we have a number of programs and institutions that have approved courses. They've submitted their documentation. It's been reviewed and approved. Cégep in Montreal, Limoilou and Vieux-Montreal, AGC program of America, George Brown College in Toronto, and we are actually at the moment looking at talking to Okanagan College here in Vancouver. So hopefully that is something that will be official very soon. Moving forward, we're also looking at some private programs. Global eTraining is a private vendor of courses, and we're also very excited to mention that we have our first in-house company training curriculum that we're looking at as well. Bird Construction has put together a program that we are currently evaluating, and certification is hopefully very soon, although their BIM fundamentals course is already approved. So the training is not just for post-secondaries or training providers, but we're looking at organizations to develop their programs, and once they are certified, those that complete these programs and provide documentation to the completion all automatically can apply for the relative certifications that they've been recognized at. So this is very exciting because we're finally beginning to see companies setting the benchmarks internally that hopefully everybody in industry is beginning to recognize. And lastly, organizations. Again, I go back to this diagram. I really like it. Even after a couple of drinks, it gets really interesting, all those figures. But same thing. It's the same. The parameters are all the same, whether it's individual or organizations, except we take all of these and stuff them through a funnel and add them to systems and people and projects that a company has done, is doing, is involved with. These are the parameters we're working on as of right now. So this isn't launched just yet. We're hoping very soon, hopefully by our AGM in Toronto, we will set the parameters based on those elements that are indicated in this diagram, and certification levels will be generated from that, and it'll be very similar to what we've done already. Basic, we call it pre-BIM. Intermediate, perhaps there's a modeling capability, and collaboration and integration as we move forward. This is somewhat vague, but by design, because we are developing those sub-areas very closely right now. But it will be based on this, but also on the individuals. So if the number of certified individuals will be required, as well as processes within those companies, as well as successful completion of projects. It's a hefty evaluation. We're hoping to really nail it properly very soon, but I'm glad that, less than a year later, we're announcing a draft or a potential for our next level of certification back here in Vancouver. Now, my bit is done there. What we would like to do now is, as I mentioned earlier, we have a number of people that are certified as of today, February 17th here in Vancouver. We actually had 43 people approved at various levels for certification, and we're very happy. We had 60 in Calgary a few months ago, and we're really happy that we've got another large amount this time around. So what we're going to do, I'd like to ask Bruce McCallum to come up. We won't go through all 43 names. They will flash up on the screen, but we will call up the individuals that are here, and Bruce will hand out the certificates. We'll have a ceremonial photograph, and once I'm done, I believe it looks like I'm gonna get hit here. What's going on, guys? I will move my shadow, thank you. I'll just duck out of the way. Okay. So one thing I want to mention before we move ahead, we were really happy not too long ago. One firm in Toronto really made an all-out effort to pursue certification of everybody in the company. Turner Fleischer Architects has made it a mandate, an internal mandate, to pursue certification at one level or another of all their employees, and I must say that this time around they've continued that ambition, and I believe there may be some further ones coming along the way. So that's my kudos to them for doing that and taking that on so aggressively and purposefully. It's good to see that these firms are really understanding the depth of certification and what it could lead to. But our assessment panel this time around, as I mentioned, 3 directors, 2 general members. Scott Chatterton. Scott, today's your day. You're just about doing everything. Paul Loretto of L360 Architecture, and Ian Trudeau of Intuitive were our board of directors that sat on the assessment panel. General members were Brent Mowdy of IBI Group and Magdalena Ordienek of Pomerleau. All CP, even only after 3 or 4 assessments, they're veterans of the process. As they assess, we receive a lot of feedback, so we're refining the process as we move along. But those are our 5 evaluators for this session. So level 1 saw 4 individuals, none of which are here, and 3 of which are Turner Fleischer. So they, by courses or by demonstrated levels of knowledge and experience, were approved at level 1 certification. I'm sorry. Moving forward to level 2, again, a significant grouping of Turner Fleischer employees, and we have one individual who actually is not a Turner Fleischer employee who is here today, I believe. Robert Hughes. Robert, if you'd come up and accept your certificate. Congratulations. Congratulations again, Robert. So level 2 was our largest grouping this time around, 2 full slides of names. And again, you can see Turner Fleischer, University of Toronto, George Brown, Fabrique. So congratulations to those individuals. We move up to level 3, and again, a large contingency of Turner Fleischers. And we do have one of those individuals here today, Stephen Nonis. Steve, if you'd come up and accept your certificate, please. And we move into our certified professionals, which I'm happy to say we have a very significant group of people here. Of those individuals, the first one I'd like to call up that is here today is George Ikonomakis from Bird Construction. George. Congratulations, George. And I'm happy to say we actually have our first individual who's, I'm calling it step up because we haven't quite coined a term for it yet, so we're going to call it step up or upgrade. Well, upgrade sounds so sterile. We'll think of something. We have to have the word BIM in there somehow. Bimped up instead of bumped up. Okay, so Michael Sullivan from Vancouver, responsible for setting up or helping to set up the tour yesterday, is our first step up from BP3 to CP, so please, a round of applause. Thank you. Good stuff, Michael. And our last certificate for today is also a step up. Juan was just certified in Calgary, and that was in the fall. In this short period of time, he's managed to elaborate and provide more information, and our assessors determined absolutely he should be at a level 4. So if we could just have a round of applause for Juan Lepe from Dialogue. Good stuff. Well, that brings it to a close for me. I'm not, is it Scott? Are you back up? Thank you. And any questions on certification? I'm here. Email. Jerry and I are very active. We do road shows, by the way, just so you know. We have a little pickup truck, and we go from office to office and do a little presentation. So if you would like for us to come into your firms to discuss this, or you want more information, don't hesitate to contact us. We're very available. Thank you.